Hello, everyone. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful evening wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And I got to start with this from the Crypto Basic. XRP success must come from increased usage, not global reset narrative. An XRP community member argues that long-term success will depend on measurable, everyday utility rather than narratives about a global reset. Recently, some pundits have claimed that a global financial reset is underway, suggesting XRP could benefit due to its utility in cross-border settlements. However, prominent community figure Wrath of Common dismisses the global reset narrative as a marketing phrase, while highlighting an important factor that could attract institutional clients. I think Wrath of Common got this one wrong. I think a global financial reset is already happening. I think it started a long time ago, but it got accelerated ever since 2020. That's why you see all these central banks stockpiling gold. We are going back to a gold-backed system. And I think the reset is still a bit early, but I think it already began. And I think we have to wait until all the puzzle pieces are in place before we get that flip of the switch moment. But the fact that you see countries pushing towards CBDCs and stablecoins now, that tells you they all want a level playing field. They no longer want US dollars. This comes from Smoke, History of Global Reserve Assets. The digital era is here. So you see the commodity era. Then you see the paper era. Bretton Woods, 1944 to 1971. Fiat era, 1971 to the present. Now we're pushing into the digital era. And you see Bitcoin, stablecoins, on-chain, risk-free rate, tokenization, and DeFi. Everything is already moving from the current financial system into the digital system, and it's happening in real time. And this is a great clip. Remember, I always said you will be transacting on different rails in the future. There's going to be parallel rails. Take a listen to this right here.
This idea that I only pay for things with money, I think is going to go away, and I'm going to have
That's a very cool concept.
Right?
That's really cool. So let's suppose I own, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Let's suppose I own Tesla shares and I have that in an exchange or, you know, with my broker somewhere. Are you saying that in the future I could tokenize that? I can go to Starbucks and pay with a tokenized Tesla share? Is that going too far, Sandy?
Yeah, I think that's accurate, right? In a sense, what we're getting toward is a high-tech barter society where I can really barter goods for one another, not just using cash.
Why would vendors, like, I'm just using Starbucks as an example, why would companies and vendors want to accept this system, though, for payment?
Because maybe they get better yield on being able to invest that gold, or they'll pay lower fees, or they'll get faster payouts, or they'll be able to transfer that into a different form of money and make a little extra on that transaction, right? There could be a lot of reasons. And then they may not have any choice, because if a consumer wants to pay that way and they risk losing that transaction, they may just agree to do it. So I think that, you know, there's going to be a big change in behavior coming. And this is why AI is so important, because I'm going to need my AI to help me optimize of all the potential ways I can pay for something. What's the way that's going to maximize my buying power the most?
So she says you will be paying with tokenized assets in the future. I think you're going to be paying directly with crypto. So how much does one XRP buy you in the future? Nobody really knows. Everybody's still valuing XRP in US dollars. What we should be valuing XRP in the future is what you could buy with, let's say, 10 XRP. Maybe it buys you a brand new car. Maybe 100 XRP buys you a house. It's going to come down to who has what things. In other words, you're going to have people paying with universal basic income. You're going to have people paying with central bank digital currencies or stable coins. You're going to have people paying with tokenized assets, and you're going to have people paying with crypto. This is why I would never sell my crypto. I would never sell my entire bag of anything because I only hold utility-driven cryptocurrencies. And I know each one of them are going to have different use cases, different values. Maybe I go to the store and I pay with XLM. Maybe I pay with XDC. I always said you're going to be valuing what you can buy with XRP instead of valuing it in US dollars. XRP escrow upgrade has been approved by the community. And this is big for when it comes to tokenized assets. So key XRP ledger escrow amendment hits activation timer with more changes to come in the coming days. And you see right here, token escrow allows you to escrow any issued asset on the XRP ledger. Think of RLUSD, meme coins, real world assets, important tool for the ecosystem. This is something that the institutions are going to want to have in place when they start tokenizing things. Everybody always thinks of like you tokenize something and then you make money off of it and then you sell it and you buy something else and you tokenize that and you make money on that and so on. But a lot of the things that people are going to tokenize, I think it's going to be things that they want to hold on to, maybe pass on to their kids and so on. But institutions, they're going to want to tokenize everything of value, and they're going to want to create escrows around those things as well. The reason I keep showing you what's going on with the XRP ledger is what I'm showing you is how it's built for institutional adoption, enterprise adoption, and so on. Top business executive says XRP shackles are finally off. So what they're talking about is XRP is no longer held back by the Rippleverse SEC case. Nothing is holding back XRP anymore. And this comes from Matt Hoogan. And he's normally an Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana guy, but he's been gradually coming around to XRP as well. But I agree with that. Everybody always says, well, we're following the 2017-2018 run. 2021 doesn't really count because we were tied up with the Rippleverse SEC case. It was brand new. XRP was already off a lot of the major exchanges by then. And now, this time around, that case is done and over with. XRP is back on all the exchanges. So if we see a run like 2017, 2018, I'm thinking we are going much higher than $27, like a lot of people are predicting. I even think we're going to go higher than $50. I still believe this could be the time where we finally see XRP flip Bitcoin once and for all. Because once it goes up this time, it's not coming back down. Because we are about to get widespread institutional adoption for XRP. And then you couple that with tokenization, Ripple taking business away from Swift, and we have a level playing field through regulations as well. This is the moment XRP holders have been waiting for. U.S. Bank could turn $10,000 into $73,000 in 40 years. But with XRP, they could do it in 9 months. That's what makes XRP so incredible. That's what makes crypto so incredible. Because the normal working class person can come into this space and week over week put a little bit of money into crypto and walk away with financial freedom. walk away retired from their crypto holdings, no longer having to go to that 9 to 5. And I think a lot of big institutions are looking at this now and saying, hey, we could make a hell of a lot of money in crypto now. You know, this is a lot different than the stock market. But the fact that we beat the institutions to XRP, that alone is a reason why you should not sell too soon. Why you should never sell your entire bag. This happened for the first time in history with something like XRP. Don't ever sell it at cheap prices. After the Treasury acquisition reset it clearly. Take a listen to what Reese Merrick says here.
Recently, you may have seen acquired a company called G Treasury. They have a treasury management solution. They have visibility of over $12 trillion of global businesses that are moving funds just between entities globally. And I can tell you the amount of interest we have had off the back of that announcement from these large enterprise customers to be able to utilize RLUSD as a method of moving and funding their businesses globally is astonishing. If you think at the moment, if you're a global business and you need to fund your company's operations for the weekend, you have to send a payment on a Wednesday, Tuesday, to ensure it's there on a Thursday or Friday to have that operational efficiency. With RLUSD, you can send it on a Friday afternoon, you can send it on a Saturday. It's 24/7, 365 days a year, and I think that's where really we're going to unlock a lot of growth across the whole industry, because like you mentioned, it's going to be the standard. The demands to the people today are very different in terms of having those bound by local rails, by the 9 to 5 kind of banking world, and moving on to crypto and digital assets is going to solve a huge amount of those pain points. So yeah, we see it.
And this is why I told you it's not just a US thing. This is a global event that's happening. Everybody wants fast, cheap, and secure. They don't want slow, expensive, and the possibility of multiple errors happening all throughout the course of a year, where people send money over SWIFT and all of a sudden the money didn't get there or the transaction failed. People don't want that anymore. They want modern and they want it now. And that's why you're going to see more and more adoption of RippleNet and XRP. XRP becomes fourth largest chain by represented tokenized real-world assets, beating Ethereum. We're going to see a shift here as well. You're going to start to see a lot of tokenization push towards the XRP ledger now. That's why these upgrades to the XRP ledger happened in the first place. They want to make it a one-stop shop for institutional adoption and tokenization as well. That's why I said we are going to see $1 trillion worth of assets on chain on the XRP ledger quicker than you think. It's going to happen so fast when it happens. Big moves for XRP. The latest from Teresa Goody, partner at Baker Hostetler and former SEC litigation counsel, is a massive win for the XRP community. In her letter to the SEC Crypto Task Force, she makes it clear speculation is not a security. Why this matters. The legal shift. Attorney Goody is dismantling the SEC's passive economic interest argument. The Ripple defense. She explicitly supports the distinction that XRP holders don't have a contract with Ripple just because they hope the price goes up. So they are still tying up loose ends at the SEC. What they are doing essentially is future-proofing the SEC. So if we get a new administration and we get someone new at the SEC, they can't go back and undo everything that they are working on right now under Atkins. And that's important because everything should be future-proofed when it comes to crypto. And I don't know if you all seen this or not, But Amazon just let go 16,000 corporate employees. 600,000 Amazon warehouse workers are next on the chopping block. And that's because Amazon is now pushing towards a humanless warehouses all around the world. And that shows you how quick AI is advancing now. And the reason I showed you that is because Shark Tank star Robert sounds the alarm. AI is talking to itself. Humans are now being left out. Take a listen to this.
Moltbot or Claudebot has been in the headlines lately, but not for the reasons most people expect. A new platform called Moltbook is actually emerged, a kind of social network for AI agents. Think about that. These aren't people posting. These aren't human accounts. It's software programs talking to each other, sharing ideas, questioning their purpose, even joking about humans. Now that sounds weird, and it is, but it's also a signal. We're moving into a future where AI doesn't just follow orders. It can interact, coordinate, and make decisions across systems without a human in the loop at all. That's not necessarily a dystopian sci-fi plot, but it does change the game for security. Something like Moltbot used to just take advantage of unsecured devices, routers, cameras, things you install and forget about. Those devices would get swept into large networks and repurposed. But now we're seeing AI systems create their own networks of interactions, systems that can evolve beyond our expectations and operate at scale. Think about that. If you're leading a business today and you don't actually know what's connected to your network, you don't really know your risk. Cyber threats are no longer about one machine, they're about ecosystems. And as these systems become more autonomous, the consequences of ignoring them only get bigger and bigger. Security isn't just an IT problem anymore, it's a leadership problem. Because the next serious issue won't knock on the front door, there'll be something you didn't even know was connected.
I think what's going on with AI is it's moving way too quick, and we're allowing it to get way too advanced, way too fast. And I think it's all because everybody wants quicker production now. They don't want humans working anymore. They want, these companies like Amazon and Walmart and so on, they want robots working in their facilities because the robot isn't going to call off sick. The robot isn't going to quit after an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift. It's going to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's not going to take off on holidays. It's not going to take off because it's its birthday. It's just going to nonstop work, and that's it. And I think we are moving way too quick with this right now. But this is also why I always tell you, you have to enrich yourself before the rise of AI. And we are still in the early stages of AI, and it's already getting so advanced so quick. Don't sell your XRP. It's your one way of escaping this new robot age that we are entering. It's the fifth industrial revolution, and you are invested in it just by holding XRP. The fourth industrial revolution is blockchain and crypto. The fifth industrial revolution is AI, and for the first time ever in history, you have two industrial revolutions colliding with each other, but they're also connecting to each other. And you are holding the money that the robots are going to be transacting in, that the machines are going to be paying each other with. That's what crypto really is. And as AI advances and blockchain advances and the rise of the new financial system happens at the same time, we are going to be fully retired. But the thing is, if you sell too soon, all of a sudden, you think you're going to come back and buy into the next big thing. But the next big thing isn't going to be here anymore. It is already going to have happened. And then you get stuck on universal basic income. So like I always tell you, until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.